these challenges. Joining us this morning is an elder statesman, Bartholomew Abochendu, is live here, Reverend Doctor. Thanks so much, Doctor, for joining us on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Happy New Year. It's been a while.
Yes.
Yes, we've still been monitoring what is happening from the United States. Prior to Donald Trump inauguration, I mean, he came in and started with a lot of executive orders. Some said, look, you can't isolate, America cannot isolate themselves from the rest of the world. How do you feel about the return?
As a matter of fact, President Donald Trump is saying what he's saying, leveraging on the kind of people in America. The kind of people in America are patriotic. They work hard and they put their country first. They develop their country and brought their country to an enviable height, of which they can say whatever they want to do without recourse to anybody, irrespective of whoever is God. And so Donald Trump, before he came up to say what he has said, he meant it. He knew what America has. He knew what America has. America is a potent country, is a strong country based on the minds and spirit of the inhabitants, of the citizens. Quite unlike Nigeria, that we are not patriotic. We aim at our pockets. We don't develop our country.
But is it fair to compare America with Nigeria?
Fair? They are incomparable. In any way, in any good thing, America is incomparable with Nigeria.
So it will not be justifiable to look at comparing the economy or how they are doing things.
If we want to talk in terms of economy, comparing Nigeria with America, we don't want to do a jamboree. We don't want to talk for talking's sake. If there is no area we can compare America with Nigeria.
How about those that feel the election wasn't, entirely free in the U.S.?
And election was not entirely free in the U.S.
Some person feel that way. Like, look at the 2020 elections, and of course,
even if it is not free, even if it was not free, you can compare it to Nigeria. Did they snatch ballot boxes in America? Did they kill and maim in America? They don't do that. Did they stay away from using the machinery they put in place to help election work, just like in Nigeria during Buhari era, that about $500 billion was deployed for the purchase of the beavers, which was thrown into the waste paper basket in election matters. That can't happen in America.
Let's focus on the trade.
Okay.
Because elections are being conducted.
Yes.
And looking at the trade policies, Canada are also kicking. China are kicking. Mexico are also responding. Those are really having the feelings. And United States, are they trying to isolate themselves from the rest of the world?
Look, if they are kicking, they can kick based on their strength. They can kick based on their strength. You look at America. America is the greatest importer of goods in the whole world. It's the greatest importer. And the reason is their tariff, penultimate Trump's era, was the least. Their tariff had been about 1.5% tariff that America had been imposing on importation of goods. And actually, China had been benefiting most because China is the largest exporter of softwares, like computers and telephones, And they had been doing deals to America on the tariff of 1.5%. Now, America, under the Donald Trump America, has decided and said that we should go local. in our consumption of goods and services. It's not that America cannot produce software like computers and telephones. Let's go on local production. That will make America greater. That is where Trump is going.
But America is already great. If they know that we have
Okay.
if you already have, I mean, your economy is strong, it is stable, and because for instance, they are trying to scrap out. Yes, they are trying to merge USAID, the agency responsible for foreign aids, to many the rest of the world and vulnerable countries. For Trump, he's trying to cut, would they say, cost of governance, or trying to cut costs for America. But even trying to cut costs in America, are you trying to also, look at the impact on the citizen? Because that tariff, at the end of the day, American people will be the one, at the end of the day, to still buy some of these products.
Look, let me take you on. You were saying that America is already great. The greatest mistake of the life of any adventurer is to think that he has gotten it all. If you are in a wrestling ring and you feel you are on top of the world and you underrate your opponent, you may get the greatest shock of your life. So no matter how strong you are, just look at yourself that there could be an eventuality and you brace up. So if America is already great, the greatest mistake of their life that they could make is that nobody can catch up with us. Nobody can catch up with us. That was the mistake Russia made in 1957. You know, Russia was the first country that launched a rocket to the moon in 1957. And America decided to revolutionize their curriculum. They took the battle to the education field. And in 1958, they overtook Russia, and they have been there up to date. And as I speak, American professors are always in the lab. They are always in the lab. They don't retire to rest. So if America is already great, the greatness will continue to be there if they are not complacent. Complacency can raise a big bull on any giant anytime, any moment. So even if America is already great, they can remain on top. If they get into this conceptualization of we are in the world, anything can happen. That is what Trump is doing.
All right, let's get to looking at response of Africa. Many African countries have really been bothered about if they start cutting their foreign aids. The United States said, look, we can't continue to fund even some organizations again. They are pulling out their resources. Is that also a trade issue? Whereas the face of your U.S. humanitarian, management comes in, under President Trump.
President Donald John Trump is moving away from globalization to nationalization. From globalization to nationalization. Let me think of my country first. Let me think of my country first. A lot of countries are growing homes, and we will continue to be relevant if we are up there. If we are up there. The various aids, the USAID, the WHO, the UNICEF, America has been the giant behind all this, and they say, no, let us build our country and become stronger so that we can ever be a terror to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. That is the objective of Trump. The other African countries, they don't have any option. They are beggars. A beggar has no choice. A beggar has no choice. There is no African country that can challenge Donald Trump because all of them, they have been benefiting from America. So The only country, and surprisingly, Mr. Mike, let me tell you, what US has, the rest of African countries, some have it double. What is US capitalizing on? Do you know that the US is the greatest owner of oil reserve in the whole world, but they don't take their attention to oil. Do you know what America exports most? Can you guess? Agriculture. Agriculture. It will surprise you. They export agricultural produce on a larger scale than any country in the world. Soya beans, beef. All these headers that are in Nigeria that are causing trouble, there are more headers in America than in Nigeria. There are more headers in America than in other parts of the world. But they don't make trouble. They mechanize it. They are civilized. But the headers in the country, in Nigeria, they make war, they move, they get to your farm and destroy your farm produce by force. Mr. Mike, you could be surprised to hear this in my own community. What headers do? They get to local villages, see the chief, bribe them, and as they bribe them, they will bring their this in their heads to the farm. The cassava that they cultivate, they uproot the cassava and put them for the cows to begin to feed on. And all these peasant farmers, when they bring reports to the chief will no longer be able to see anything because his mouth has been watered by these headers. That is what we see in the country. But America is not like that. They are civilized. They are highly into agriculture. So that is what we are talking about. Africa should look at what God has given to them, leverage on it, develop a kind of curriculum in the African schools to begin to focus on agriculture. Agriculture is what has made America great. Agriculture. But in Nigeria, for example, we don't give attention to education. Hello? I hope you are aware. We don't give attention to education.
Is attention? Is it the curriculum and not meeting up with our...
The curriculums are there. The curriculums are there. But those who will make use of the curriculums, we are going to make situations conducive for them. After they decide to go on strike, they will give warning. The government will sit back and begin to watch us. Why? Because their children don't go to school here. They go to school in the foreign land. And the surprising thing here is, when these your children go to school in the foreign land and they finish, they stay there to work. There are so many Nigerian professors in America, true or false. They stay there to work. They wouldn't like to come to Nigeria to come and work in the Nigerian schools because the politicians mess up the Nigerian schools. All these children of the business that go to the foreign land to school, what will bring them back to Nigeria is politics. If they will come to become governors, if they will come to become senators, if they will come to become president, if not, all these business that send their school their children abroad to go and school, when they finish, those who would think of politics much later, they will just come back to Nigeria and they serve the compulsory NYSC. After serving it, what do? They go back there. They go back there. How can somebody put, how can a rich man put his child in school? The person graduates, he becomes a professor, and he will now come back to Nigeria to begin to lecture in the Nigerian universities. How much will they pay him? How much will they pay him? They will not come. The only thing that will make them to come back is politics, because everything has been diverted to politics. And as I speak to you, a local government chairman does better than a professor. Than a professor. Of course, a professor will not be able to earn up to 1/5 of what a local government chairman earns. What are you talking about? How can we develop the country? And if you don't give attention to education, if you don't give attention to laboratories, a country develops on science and technology. To read sciences in school, you know how difficult it is. But in the Nigerian situation, you have made it to pay better for somebody who studies sociology than somebody who studies physics in the university. You have made it such that it will pay somebody who read political science than somebody who read architecture, than somebody who read agronomy. That is where we are in Nigeria. Until we return back to our senses, we ever remain slaves to the developed countries.
All right. Let's begin to advance the conversation, because we may look at the United States, and those are really having more concern. If, for instance, China, also, they're also one of the powers we have in the world. Other nations and queue behind China. And look at BRICS, for instance, membership of the BRICS. Recently, Nigeria had secured a seat within the BRICS as well. Do you feel that this may become a threat if other countries form alliances with China against the United States?
If they form alliances with China against the United States, what can you do to the United States?
Do you feel resources
Now,
will tap?
when dogs, about 15 dogs, come together against an elephant, what will you do to an elephant? What will you do to an elephant? You can't do anything to an elephant. We are talking about trade wars. We are talking about tariffs on importation of goods. All those goods, does Nigeria have any good to export to America? When we are talking of even tariffs, we don't even bring Nigeria close because they are far below the mark. So if the former Trump knows what he's doing, he knows definitely that whatever they plan to do will never affect him. He is trying to encourage local production. He's trying to encourage local production. What can China produce that America cannot produce? And I have just told you, the major export of China is software, computers, and telephones. Is it computers and telephones that America cannot produce? And those people that are producing all these things in China, they can relocate to America and begin to produce them there. Hello? Are you getting me? If they relocate to America and begin to produce them there, the idea of tariff will no longer be there. What Trump is saying is, all these goods that are coming, let them be produced locally. Let them be produced in the country.
In the United States.
In the United States.
The company should be located.
The company should be in the United States. Do you know, I told the story of how America emerged sometime here during our discourse. You know, America came after Britain, came after France, came after Spain, and the rest of them. There were some these industrialists in these countries, and they were levying, the countries were levying them with high taxes. When Christopher Columbus in 1492, thereabout, discovered America, they now decided to move down there. And as they moved down there, you know, taxes were drastically reduced for them. And they stayed there. They were comfortable. And they started making America great. So as I speak to you, Trump must have sliced down action on local taxes, on indigenous companies, industries in America, to make America greater. So that is what is happening. I equally would like Nigeria to borrow a leaf from what Trump is doing. I think Buhari in his time wanted to impose tariff on importation of goods somewhere, but he couldn't fly because there were some fundamental issues that needed to be solved, which was not solved. The idea of leveling high taxes on importation of is a good idea because it will make the local emblems to strengthen up. That is what develops the country. That is what develops the country. And what I pray that Trump also does is to ban all these bourgeois from sending their children to go and school in America. That is what I would like him to do more. Let him do that. Let him do that. Because that will be the salvation to our educational system in Nigeria. But I heard it by rumor. But I pray to God that it happens. That if you ever assume any position as a political figure, your child can no longer come to America to school. Let your child school in Nigeria.
Wouldn't that be too harsh for, because the current leaders are not the one that had Nigeria to where we are today. So
yes.
It has been a generational issue. So yes. Wouldn't that be too harsh on the current leaders? But let's advance that conversation to look at other issues, looking at the deportation policy of Donald Trump. Many have said, look, people who went into America illegally well bothered about this. He has already taken a move. About 1,500 people have been deported. And if you look at the statistics of how many Nigerians are also being listed to be illegal, it's about over 3,000 or thereabouts. So those are really very concerned. Sometimes those guys are also adding value to the economy of the United States. Yes, you may say they are posing threats to the security of the United States, and there are violence and all of that. What about those who probably are also adding value to it? Because there was a bishop, I don't know if you had listened to that bishop who had, during the inauguration of Donald Trump had pleaded. Mr. President should also understand that there are some persons who are also adding value, doing all of those menial jobs within the United States as well. So how effective would that be?
The number is so infinitesimal compared to the colossal number of the Americans that are there. America as a land space, is appreciably large. The state of Alaska, for instance, is about double the land space of Nigeria, about 1.7 million square meters. When Nigeria is just about 900,000 square meters. You get what I'm saying? And so those who are in America and are adding value to America, they don't have any problem. But when you say you are adding value to America, let it not be on your lips. Let it be on stage, let everybody see. If you are adding value to America, let it become clear to the Americans that you are really adding value to America. Donald Trump has not gone to the side of naturalization. Naturalization, that one can naturalize. You know, according to their way of life, if you stay in a place for up to about 5 to 10 years, you are already a citizen of that place. If you can perfect your papers, you naturalize, and you become a citizen of that place. I don't think Donald Trump has gone in that dimension, and I believe he will not go there. So people who are saying that one of those who are in America and are adding value to America, if you are in America and you are adding value to America, then do in Rome as the Romans do. Do in Rome as the Romans do. This is what America wants you to do. Perfect your papers and make sure you are sound. You don't constitute nuisance to our community. If you can do that, then you are good to fly.
All right. In a recent issue, Trump said he wants the U.S. to take over Gaza after the removal of Palestinians. He has also, made promises that he will be creating peace within this region. Do you feel that he has the capacity to resolve all of that?
Why not? Why not? He has the capacity. He has the capacity, most especially as I learned that he has a very sweet relationship with the present Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. So they can come together. I learned that Netanyahu was with him yesterday at the White House. There might be things that they had discussed, which I feel may include that. So if he takes over Gaza, it will be good enough. And again, if he takes over Gaza, it will not go down well with the Arabs, because Arabs, they know that Trump taking up Gaza is eventually Israel taking over Gaza. Because as it stands, right from antiquity, America and Israel have been inseparable entities. They have been inseparable entities. It's only Joe Biden that has been so cruel in his approach towards Israel. Like,
he was still funding. But he was still funding Israel.
He was funding Israel. If he was funding Israel, we are talking about doing it on hypermode. You know what is happening? Had happened in the time of George Bush. You know the ripple effect. You know the ripple effect. Somebody like Jimmy Carter was mild. Jimmy Carter was able to achieve a feat when he was able to reconcile Egypt with Israel in 1979. And so Jimmy Carter was in the White House from 1977 to 1981. So in 1979, he was able to achieve that feat, and that was a colossal achievement. And that is why Egypt and Israel can never fight again, because a memorandum of understanding, a treaty was signed that if you break it, you will be putting your head into the guillotine. And so Egypt, because the war in the Middle East right from Adam had been Israel and Egypt. If you talk of Lebanon, if you talk of the rest of like Syria, like the rest of them that have been joining in the fight, it has been only Egypt. If you get the population of the rest together, it's not even up to half of the population of Egypt. So settling Israel and Egypt was a colossal feat that was gotten by Jimmy Carter in 1979. He did his own. So what we are seeing happen, I mean, it shouldn't have happened in the time of Jimmy Carter, even Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton. I don't think so. You know, you leave it to me, I will say Joe Biden had been the most fraud president United States of America has ever produced. However, there are areas that he achieved some things. So that is what we are talking about. So Trump saying he will take over Gaza, I don't think there are forces that may be able to stop him.
Because Hamas have just released a statement saying that the plans to take over Gaza will create chaos and tension in the region. That our people in the Gaza Strip will not allow these plans to pass. That's coming from Hamas.
You know, I said that earlier. They won't agree with it. It will hold by the power of the giant. If Trump now says, whether I like it or not, this must happen, it's only that. If not, they will talk in terms of people coming together and agree on a peace deal. Humans will never agree, because if Trump is there, it is still Israel that is there. That is their basic understanding. If Putin had said he will take over Gaza, Hamas will not have any argument against that. Because Putin is not in tune with Israel that much. He's not in tune with Israel that much. So that is how it is. So you won't expect a Hamas to succumb to the proposition of Trump, as he said, he will take over Gaza.
A lot to learn from all of these, reformations, call it reformations of President Donald Trump. Let's come back home. A lot of ongoing events in the country. Look at issues of the Inspector General of Police tenure elongation. Even a police commission came out to make their clarification as well, saying that it's now a tenured position, irrespective of what the acts have previously provided. They are back and forth within that. What do you feel about the situation there?
Mr. Mike, Nigeria are the architects of their problems, because we are not always very, very sincere. In the first place, what would make Tinubu to retain Egbetukun as the IGP? Is it that there are no other people that are capable to do it? Is it that there are no other capable people to do it? The problem that we have been having in Nigeria continues to persist. When anybody assumes position of the CNC in Nigeria, he gathers people that are yes men to himself. People that are yes men to himself, because many oftentimes than none, it has always played out that presidents of Nigeria, majority of them are selfish. And so when they want to embark on their selfish deals, they want to tighten on, must make sure that nobody stands against them. And the IGP is a force. Hello? It's a force in the Nigerian political system. If not, is it that all the police acts, there is nobody who can assume that office that will be able to deliver? Why Egbetukun? Well, we don't blame him, because that is the scenario, the pathway that has been laid before he came. Why not take another man to be the IGP? Why not take a Hausa man to be COAS, Chief of Army Staff? Why not take a Hausa man to be there?
Do you feel this about tribe? Look,
it's about tribe.
They are all qualified.
People that will agree with you, that you speak to, do it this way. Do it, yes sir. Not somebody that will say, do it this way. They say, but the act, the Police Service Act does not agree with you too. You don't want somebody like that. You don't want somebody like that.
So if they're saying that is a tenure now with the reviewed Act of 2020, and said it has not provided room for tenure appointment. Do you feel that's what they are holding on to?
What do you mean by tenure appointment? What do you mean by tenure appointment?
A period of 4 years.
You have police service.
4 years appointment.
You have Police Service Act, and you have the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. When the act has a conflict with the Constitution, the Constitution takes the day, because the Constitution is superior to acts. The Constitution says when you are getting into a civil service, the police is a civil servant. You are getting into civil service and you exhaust your 35 years of service, you should leave the service. That is what the Constitution says. And even if you are not up to 35 years of service and you are 60 years of age, leave the service. Leave the service. That is what the Constitution says. Why are you coming to tamper with the Constitution?
So people about that 2020 Act, were they not taken into consideration? Because there are those that will argue it wasn't done under President Tinubu, it was done far when Muhammadu Buhari was a president, and he signed that.
That is what I'm saying. It's an act. It's an act. Was the Constitution amended? If it is an act, it is subordinate to the Constitution. That is what I'm saying. So those who form the act, they do it in error.
So the Constitution should supersede.
The Constitution should supersede. That was what this your brother wanted to do in 2007 when he wanted to amend the Constitution to go for third term. Obasanjo. And that is the problem that we have in Nigeria. When you are on top of the horse, you feel the horse is sweet to ride. But when you come down, you feel as the horse is coming, it's terrifying you.
Because there are people that are making this argument that, look, a place, an office like IGP is not meant to really, because there have been a lot of changes. Some said it's a security agency, one who have also studied the framework and implementation. Can't you always allow time, for IGP to always have full tenure to, dispense their security agenda? Because changing of IGP is also affecting our security architecture. Do you feel that argument is valid?
The system of Nigeria should not be personalized. It should be documentalized. The system is there. There's nothing Ebetokun will say that the next person will not be able to say. Hello? The problem we have in Nigeria is we take personality above the Constitution. The DIG that is in Area 10 is the next to the IGP. Is there anything that the IGP knows that he does not know? Is there anything that the IGP knows that he does not know? So the public office, the way Nigerians handle public offices is so funny. When they come to the public office, they exalt themselves above the public office. That's the problem we have. If not, what can Ebetokun do that the DIG, I don't know his name,
Frank Mba,
cannot do? It's a matter of the laid down rules. He knows them.
All right.
He knows them, Mike.
Thanks so much, Reverend Dr. Habachendo Baturu, and other statement. Your insights are always very valid, and of course, thanks so much for continuing adding your voice to our programs.
My pleasure.
And everyone, of course, this is where we wrap it up here on this conversation. Donald Trump's trade war and the rest of the world. China also responding to impose tariff on imports of United States energy. And we are looking at how this can how it will unfold and the impacts it may have on vulnerable countries and developing countries, call it developing countries, like that of Nigeria and the rest of African countries. But in all of this, it gets to the point where one question has been raised. If America are prioritizing their country, putting it first, Canada also doing the same, China also doing the same, it's also time for the rest of the country to also look inward in getting their problems solved, because no one may come for the help. Nigeria can only be the one to develop Nigeria, and we should also look at Nigeria first in driving that development. We'll be wrapping up the show shortly after we return from the break. For now, do still stay with us.